Okay, my name is Travis. I'm with Faith Co Church, and this is Tiffany. She's our director of Bikes for Kids, and we thank you for letting us come in and talk a little bit about Bikes for Kids. I was here last year. We got a little bit of a connection issue with my computer and your television, but that's all right. We really don't need it. We'll do just fine without it. But I appreciate you guys in this organization that you're not just consuming from the community, you're contributing. So thank you for what you do through Kiwanis. I was listening to Kevin, who told me a little bit about what you guys do throughout the year. And you guys don't just show up and eat every Wednesday. You're actually doing something for the community. So I just want to commend you for all the things that you guys are doing through this organization. Well, Bikes for Kids is something I want to talk to you about. I introduced myself. Once again, director is Tiffany. You're going to hear more of her in just a second. And our story, real quickly, I want to tell you the story behind why Bikes for Kids goes. There's a lot of different organizations that people are given to at this time of year. And to tell you our story, I just want you to pretend just for a second that church is a business. Just go with me there for a second. That church is a business. That church is not a charity. And I pastor a church, and let's just pretend it's not a charity. Let's pretend that it's a business. Let's pretend for a second that what I do on Sundays for half an hour when I preach, let's just pretend that that's only 10% of what I do, and I actually work Monday through Friday at a job, kind of like. And let's just go with me there. And because people have asked me before, hey, what's it like to be a pastor? What's it like, and because there are things that I've learned throughout the years. When I first started pastoring a church, and we thought about starting a church in Shawnee, it was over 20 years ago, and it seemed like there was really nothing like what we were trying to do. There was no such thing as somebody using distortion on a guitar in church. There was no such thing as people not wearing suits in church. Now that churches like that are everywhere, but back then we were kind of a freak, if you will. We were the only church that had a projector. You guys remember those kind of projectors where you had to move the little slides out? Yeah. That's what everybody was using. We spent money and got one of these, and it was something brand new for churches back then. But one of the things they didn't teach me about church is that it actually really is, you have to run it a lot like a business. Real quickly, I had to find out. A year into it, you find out, well, preaching and discipling and praying for people and everything else that people think that a pastor does or whatever, that's just not enough. You actually have to be good at marketing. I have to be really good at fundraising. I run an organization that is grossly understaffed and grossly underfunded. And if you talk to every pastor, you're grossly understaffed. The resources are way down because that's just the nature of running a church. So what's it like to be a pastor? It'd be kind of like you walking into your office where you are and talking to your co-workers or your employees and asking them to come in on their day off. Hey, will you guys come in on Sunday and do your work for free? That's what it's like to be a pastor. Because it takes a third of your church to be able to run the church because, just as an example, our church runs between 400 and 600 people. And it's run by three full-time and 3 part-time. So it's grossly understaffed. So what we have to do is convince a third of the church to serve on Sundays so we can have a church. All right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because as a pastor, you get wrapped up in, how do I keep this thing going? And here's what I'm going to do. Everything that I do is going to be for the better and for the building of the church. So every time I do something in the community, it's got to bring return back to the church. Every time that I have an event, it's got to bring people to church. Every time I do something, it's got to bring, because you're constantly, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? You don't. So anyway, you're constantly thinking about this. So Bikes for Kids came from a place of kind of an antithesis of that thinking. I walked into and talked to our leadership one day, and I said, we are going to do something for the community, for a demographic of people that can give us nothing in return. We're going to do something just for the sake of being generous. We're going to purify our motives to it. And that's the birthing of Bikes for Kids in 2007. That's where it came from. Our mission is to encourage and empower underprivileged kids to live healthier lives by owning and riding a bike. When I was 6 years old, for my 6th birthday, I lived in Ada. My parents were pastors. We couldn't afford to buy groceries. I mean, we were so poor that the poor people thought we were poor. That's how poor we were. Anybody ever been that poor? The poor people in the congregation, so we would have milk, gave us a goat. Has anybody ever owned a goat? You ever drank goat's milk? Got to pour it through a rag. I just remember those days. But anyway, my uncle, I called him Bub. His name was Bub Hurst. Over on MacArthur, across the street from Billy Boys, there used to be a DX station. Does anybody remember that DX station? Yeah. He owned that station. And he drove down to Ada at that point in my life and gave me a bicycle. And he gave me a bicycle and put it together, and that changed my life. And I kept that bike for 7 years. I spray painted, I wrecked it, I put different seats on it, whatever. I just remember the fact. And that was, I first of all, I like bikes. I remember that situation. But also, a bike is an alternative to to what our kids are being exposed to today. Has anybody heard of a game called Fortnite? It's a game that really attracts kids, young men between the ages of 10 and 14. I have never seen anything like it. It's a game. It's an online game. It's through PlayStation. It's an interesting game, but it is it draws that our age demographic like nothing before. A bicycle is a healthy alternative. I don't have to tell you about that. You know how healthy it is for kids to get outside these days, get off their phones. I mean, there are actually physiological issues, health issues, social issues with our kids because of this. It's becoming a problem. People are getting counsel for it, So a bike is a healthy option. Blue Zones is going to be at our event this year. So that's our mission. Our strategy is to identify disadvantaged kids who need and want a bike. We want to raise awareness and resources to purchase these bikes for our community. There's a picture that you guys can't see. Okay, we have served at least 24 schools, pre-K through 5th grade, since 2007. And we've given away over 5,000 bikes in the last 12 years. Okay, I want to talk to you about the process. And to talk to you about the process, I'm going to bring up Tiffany. Tiffany, if you'll just stand up there. And we're going to just, I've got these, you can go from here, you can, however you want to do it.
I can do it. Okay, so I'm going to give you kind of a snapshot of what it looks like. You've heard kind of how we got started and what our vision is behind it, but you may wonder how it is that we get to the day of the event. So I'm going to give you kind of a quick run through, if I can, of what that looks like. So starting in October, I call all the Potawatomi schools and I ask them for how many students they have in pre-K through 6th grade. So that gives me an idea of how many applications I'm going to need to print off. And I have several people that assist me in that. And it's normally around 10,000 applications that we print off. So we spend about the whole first week of October printing off all those applications. And then we let the schools know, hey, be expecting us the second week in October. And we go hand deliver those applications to the schools. The schools work hand in hand with us to make sure all of those applications get into the folders of the kids to get sent home with them. So second week in October, the kids are going home with all of those applications. And it's normally about the first or second week of November that we're getting the bulk of those applications back in. So they have 3 ways they can get those to us. They can fax them, they can email, or they can mail those to us. So we're looking at receiving about 500 or 600 applications. So once those applications have been opened and reviewed, they all come through my desk. And at that point, I'm reading the stories and just kind of soaking in why we do this. And I'm looking at making sure that they qualify for the specifications that we have and making sure that there's not a need that goes beyond the application. So like I said, we send those through to the pre-K through 6th graders, but occasionally there is a special need, and a lot of times the family will put that on the application. So it's my job to make sure we don't miss that. So for example, I had an application come through my desk, and it was a family with 4 children. Their home had burnt down and they lost their dad in that fire. And so she was saying, my 2 oldest kids do not meet the qualifications of this program, but we have absolutely nothing. Can you make an exception? So those kinds of things are coming through my desk. I'm calling them, telling them we will absolutely make an exception. Those are just guidelines. We want to fill every need that we possibly can. So I'm going to read a story to you. I know you all received an application so that you can see what our kids are going home with. Not all of the stories are like this. Some of the stories are single moms who are just going through a really rough patch in life, and they can't make ends meet to make Christmas presents go under the tree. And then some stories are like this. To protect the child's identity, I'm going to call him Reese. She says, "My son is 7. He was receiving chemotherapy from ages 3 to 6. That being said, he only owned a tricycle, but due to cancer and weakness in his bones, he was unable to ride the bike much. Now he's better, and he's in remission. He really thinks that a big boy bike for Christmas would be so much fun. I took off work for 3 years to attend to him, and our family has been in a financial stress ever since. We're working hard to get back on our feet and just want the children to have the best Christmas possible. Last year, Reese asked God to heal him, and that was by far the best gift he could have ever received. For more than 3 years, my son was raised in the halls of the Jimmy Everest Center at OU Children's, hooked up to an IV pole, getting treatment 40 plus hours a week. He learned to be grateful for each and every day God blessed him with. All I ask is that you keep all of these children in your prayers." So we get really sweet letters like this that absolutely make us know why we do this and why we invest so much time in this. Again, they're not all like this, but I do get lots of letters like this. And that's the reason that we read them, so that we can contact with them and it not just be a name on a piece of paper. We can actually call these people, tell them that we're praying for them, and that we're so excited that their kid's going to get a bike this year. So we also send out, it takes a lot of money to do this, so we send out donation packets to the local businesses, and we also have hundreds of them available at our church, so that people within the church, if they have connections to the local community, they can go out and send those packets to them. And then we also do mail outs. With the bicycle on the day of the event, they'll also receive a t-shirt, they're going to receive a helmet, they're going to receive a Bible, they're going to receive more information about how to get closer to God, if they have any questions, how to get in contact with us. So it's not just a bike. This is an opportunity for us to connect with them. There's carnival games there. I mean, the day of is just so much fun. We have cookie tables where we give away thousands of cookies and a warm chocolate chip cookie with a bottle of milk. I mean, you'd just be amazed at how excited these kids get. But that is a little bit of the process of how that goes down. Have I covered what you want me to cover?
Yeah, you might just talk about the week of. This is the week of, so just
talk
about
okay.
Wednesday and Friday.
Yes, this is our week of right now. We are in the week of. So what it's looking like for me right now is I'm just touching base with all of our donors. For example, Chick-fil-A has sponsored breakfast for our Dream Team members. So I'm just connecting with those companies saying, hey, we're still on for this time. You know, I have this Dream Team member coming to pick up at this time. Oh, sorry, volunteers. That's what we call our volunteers within our church, is our Dream Team members. So I'm connecting with everybody. I connected with Tecumseh FFA yesterday. They come in on Friday, and this is just such a huge blessing for this event. They bring school bus loads of kids, and they bring cattle trailers, and they are the ones that help transport those 400 and 500 bikes to the Expo Center. They put them in boys and girls categories and the age-appropriate sizes, and it would not be possible without those guys. They help us tremendously. You want me to go over this too?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing a better job than I am, so I'm going to let you do it. She's good at it.
You got her up there.
Okay, so he's wanting me to discuss the day of the event. So I've talked about Friday, how we get the bikes there to Tecumseh FFA, and then we have several volunteers in the community that come outside of our church that come help us set up the t-shirt tables, that set up the cookie tables. We have the Girl Scouts that come in, and they're the ones who set up all of the games for the kids to come play. The coin tosses, the basketball throwing, the little bowling games. The community just comes together for that. He mentioned Blue Zone is coming in. They're going to be talking about how to properly fit your helmet. The helmets are being donated as well. They're going to be talking about bicycle safety out on the roads. We want to make sure that these kids are safe. If their parents don't talk to them about that information, we want to make sure that we get that information out to them. So the day of the event, we ask all of our volunteers to be there at 8:45, And that gives them an opportunity to eat Chick-fil-A, which they are all really excited about, and to get their t-shirt and to get them informed about what their position is. At 9:15, we're going to pray. Travis will talk a little bit about the event, and then he will introduce the mayor, and also our state representative will be there too to also talk a little bit about the event. After that, it'll take about 15 minutes. We'll go to our stations. Doors open at 9:30. It is like a flood of kids and families. So we're giving away approximately 400 to 500 bikes every year. But each one of those kids has a brother or sister with them. They have mom and dad, or they have grandma and grandpa. So we have 2,000 people flooding through the doors at 9:30. We're giving them the goodie bags. We're giving them those cookies and milk, their t-shirts. We have a haircut station set up. We've had 5 salons in the community offer out their time for free. So these kids have an opportunity to go back there, get their hair cut. Just the smiles on those kids' faces, just getting haircuts. I mean, the bikes are amazing, but they're like, Mommy, Mommy, look. And I go back there, I talk to the haircut people, and they say about half of those kids told me they've never, ever had a professional haircut. And so, sorry, I'm getting a little worked up. We have a coat station. She talked to me. We have, I think, about 300 coats, gently used coats or new coats that she has raised. She's within our community, said she'd come in, fully sponsor that, get all the coats, wash them, hang them up. She is so excited. She sent me so many pictures. She cannot wait till the event gets here. So there will be a coat station. That's need-based. We're going to have adult-sized coats too, so we're going to give out to kids and adults for that area. And then again, like I said, we're going to have a helmet table, and those have all been fully donated as well. So you hear me saying donated, donated, donated. I can't stress enough that this doesn't happen without everybody who pitches in to do this within the community and within our church. So,
Thank you, Tiffany.
yes.
Okay, last thing I want to say before we're done is I want to challenge you just to do 4 things. Number 1 is just spread the word. You can see that we're not just giving bikes out the back of our church. That it is a huge event, and it's a really cool event. And spread the word about what's going on. Second of all, everybody should have gotten an application. That application is is what we give kids. So help us identify kids that need bikes. Some of you have rental properties. Some of you know families that could use something like this. Fill their name in or talk to them. Give that letter to them. And as late as it is right now, we can still make it. It would go on a waiting list
Yes.
right as of now, but we can still do it. I'm sure that we could. So if you know people that need help in this area, fill that out for them. And of course, you can sponsor a bike. For us to do the event, we figured that it costs an average from whatever size. What would we say that was as little as this and as much as this?
It's in the range of $75 to $80
Okay.
for the T-shirt to go with the bike.
Yes. So if you want to sponsor a bike for a kid, and lastly, if you really were interested in this, and you were like, man, Travis, he's an awesome guy. I think I will do him a favor. If you would make my day if you just come and be at the event. More than anything that we've asked. If you just show up and look at this. Because if you just see it, people always walk away. The mayor, the state rep said, I had no idea you guys were doing this. This is such an incredible event. So anyway, that would be really cool. Anyway, thank you for your time, and thank you for your interest in making a difference and your interest in Bikes for Kids. If you have any questions, we have questions. We also have business forums, and we have free t-shirts if you guys want free t-shirts. So thank you very much. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.